16, text 6. Jasminahaniya yeva Bhagavan utsasarjagam Tataivehanuvritoso Ardama prabhavakalihi. Word for word. Jasmine, on that. Ahani, very day. Yahi eva, in the very moment. Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead. Uttasarja, left aside. Gam, the earth. Tada, at that time. Eva, certainly. Iha, in this world. Anuvritaha, followed. Aso, he. Adharma, irreligion. Prabhava, accelerating. Kali, the personality of quarrel. Translation, the very day and moment the personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, left this earth, the personality of Kali, who promotes all kinds of irreligious activities, came into this world. Translation, please repeat. The very day and moment the personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, left this earth, the personality of Kali, who promotes all kinds of irreligious activities, came into this world. Purport. The personality of Godhead and His holy name, qualities, etc., are all identical. The personality of Kali was not able to enter the jurisdiction of the earth due to the presence of the personality of Godhead. And similarly, if there is an arrangement for the constant chanting of the holy names, qualities, etc., of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there is no chance at all for the personality of Kali to enter. That is the technique of driving away the personality of Kali from the world. In modernized human society, there are great advancements of material science, and they have invented the radio to distribute sound in the air. So instead of vibrating some nuisance sound for sense enjoyment, if the state arranges to distribute transcendental sound by resounding the holy name, fame and activities of the Lord as they are authorized in the Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam, then a favorable condition will be created. The principles of religion in the world will be re-established, and thus the executive heads who are so anxious to drive away corruption from the world will be successful. Nothing is bad if properly used for the service of the Lord. Jasminahan ya eva Bhagavan utsasajagam Tadaiveha nuvrito so adama prabhava kali. The very day and moment the personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, left this earth, the personality of Kali, who promotes all kinds of irreligious activities, came into this world. So in the previous verse it was mentioned that as long as the powerful son of Abhimanyu, Maharaj Parikshit, remains in the world, there's no chance that the personality of Kali will flourish. In this verse, mentioned that when Lord Krishna was present, the personality of Kali couldn't even enter into the world. After Lord Krishna's presence is so powerful that the Kali Yuga couldn't come into effect. And so the very day and moment, is very specific, the very day and moment the personality of God, Lord Sri Krishna, left this. In other words, Kali was waiting. He has his duty to perform. And of course he knew that he couldn't do anything while Krishna was present. But as soon as he left, he just came in and started promoting here. Actually, Kali is, the word Kali is translated as the personality of quarrel. The personality of quarrel. In one other place, Prabhupada actually says that in Kali Yuga means that wherever there are two persons, they will quarrel. The two persons, there will be quarrel. I was remembering that a long time ago, a couple of my godbrothers, they were the first devotees to go to Perth. So both of them more or less joined at the same time, but one was designated, when you go there and establish something, you can be the president. So on the way over, when we were driving from Melbourne to Perth, all along, he was hammering on that point. Just remember, I'm the president. I don't want any quarrel. Just remember, I was appointed the president. So, when one becomes too attached or too proud, arrogant, then, then you would think of yourself in a certain way, and someone or something that comes along to disturb that you'll be very upset, and then you'll perhaps cause trouble for others. You will quarrel with them. You'll look for creating a disturbance. And it's just the atmosphere of the age, and the association. It's just that seems to be the norm. Quarreling, fighting, arguing. We have all sorts of avenues for people to communicate, but it seems that even all these. I was reading a comment by a very well-known journalist in America who actually posted. He said that I'm going off all social media. He said it's too much. He said that it's just like non-stop fighting and quarreling. He said non-stop fighting and quarreling. He said that's it. I've had it. He said I'm going off. And he did. Of course, he posted that first. So I just noted that because, it's unfortunate. Things can be utilized in a good way. But because of the base nature of people, especially the effect of the mode of ignorance, and the effects of Kali, they'll just resort to this lower nature type activities. They're fighting, quarreling, attacking, so on and so forth. So the name Kali has been translated the personality of quarrel. And as I said, probably wherever there are two people, there's going to be some fighting going on. So it's unfortunate, the atmosphere of the age, the atmosphere, the modes of nature, the times of the day, all sorts of the modes of nature, just like morning, even the times of the day. Morning is said to be more in the mode of goodness. As you go through the day, it's more in the mode of passion, and then in the night time, late at night, is more in the mode of ignorance. So people who they get affected. Everyone gets affected. You get affected by the where you go, the place. The people you associate with, you get affected. You may be one type of person, but if you stay long enough in that place, where it's like a horrible place, and it's very, you get brought down, or you associate with these people or those people, just due to that association. On the other hand, if you go to a very nice place, associate with nice people, then you get affected in a positive way. But of course, the inner nature is still there, and sometimes even with good association, sometimes bad qualities come out. So there has to be an upliftment of the individual consciousness. One time someone asked me, said, how can we change the consciousness of the world for the better? I said, well, first of all, you can start with yourself. Start with yourself, and then make yourself better. And if everyone does that, of course, Prabhupada here, he says that the mass way of uplifting the world, when Krishna was present, Kali couldn't come in. The age of quarrel, he couldn't come in. But when he left, then Kali came in. So here he says here, the personality of Godhead, his holy name, qualities, are all identical. So, and then he says the personality of God was not able to enter the jurisdiction of that due to the presence of the personality of God. So that's a point he makes here that, all right, Krishna left and Kali came in, but actually Krishna is present, in so many ways. And he's present in his holy name and in other words, Krishna can still be present. Krishna, the personality, he left, but Krishna can be still present. And I remember one time in Melbourne when Srila Prabhupada was giving a lecture, and someone asked him at the end, the question time, that they said, and they must have read some Bhagavad Gita, they said that, Swami, in the Bhagavad Gita it says that there's an incarnation comes in every age. Because Prabhupada was talking about the different ages in Kali Yuga. And the incarnation comes in every age. So how has the incarnation come in this age? Who is the incarnation has come in this age? And how has he come in this age? So I was expecting Prabhupada to say that he's come in the form of Lord Chaitanya. But Prabhupada actually said he has come in this age in the form of his holy name. He's come in the form of the holy name. He's come in the form of the chanting. So, the chanting, the qualities here, it is said that, so the presence of Krishna can be still here, even though the personality of Krishna departed at the end of the last age, but the presence of Krishna can still be here if because these things like the name of Krishna, because Krishna is absolute, it's spiritual. Krishna is everywhere, so Krishna can appear in any way. So he is in this age. He has come. Iti sorashakam nam nam kali kalmanas nata paratayo savavedi shudushite. They said when Narad Muni one time visited Lord Brahma, he asked me, I'm concerned about the people of in Kali Yuga, how they'll get the salvation. And Lord Brahma said, yes, in the Kali Yuga, the chanting of the holy name, you won't find anything more auspicious or higher than this chanting. So this is very, very important. And it's non-different. Ananyas chintayantam. What's that verse? Ananyas, where it's non-different. I'll have to come to me. Huh? Naminamino, yeah. Chaitanya Srasabhigna Binat Nami. I just got to get that first line. Nama Chintamani Krishna is Chaitanya Rasabhigna. Nama Chintamani Krishna. So it's non-different. The sound. Prabhupada would say like that. He said that there's a difference between your name and yourself and see, your name is. I remember he gave a class at this school, and they were just like primary school. I think primary school, just nearby in Sydney there. And he said that he spoke very simply, and he said that we have to understand who we are, so we can, go about things in a nice way. And so, if I ask you, he pointed to one of the children, and he said, "Who are you?" He pointed to him, he said, "Who are you?" And one of the kids went, "I am John." And then Papa said, "But that's your name. Names can change. So who are you?" And then another kid said, "Well, this is me." I said, "But you're pointing to your chest." So it went like that. So, but who are you? Someone said, "Oh, I'm a brain or something like that." So and then he said, "Well, that is your brain. That is so who is the you? That you have to understand." So Prabhupada was making a point. So it's very, very important. Who are you? You have to understand these things. And so your name is different to yourself. The names can change, but there is a difference on the absolute level, on the spiritual level. In the material, on the level, everything is relative. It's a relative. Everything is relative concept. I am here. I am there. It's relative. The sun is, if you look in the sky, the sun is this big, but actually it's just relative because the sun is so far away. It's not actually the situation. But on the spiritual, everything is absolute. And here Prabhupada says the name, the qualities, it is all spiritual and is identical to the individual. Krishna doesn't have a material body, like we now have a material body made of earth and water, but Krishna has a spiritual body, and anything to do with that body, anything that is connected to Krishna is Krishna, and Krishna is in the end. Krishna is everywhere, and he's come in this age in the form of this chanting. Of course, Lord Chaitanya has come, and he promotes this chanting all over the world. So by the chanting, now Prabhupada mentions here, if there's arrangement now, due to the presence of God, Krishna was personally present, but in this age of Kali we can counteract the effects by this constant chanting of the names. The qualities, anything connected to Krishna is spiritual. It is simultaneously one with, it is not different. It is just different aspects. So the name, the qualities, therefore, in this age, the chanting is there. That is the technique of driving away the personality of Godhead from the world. And so here he gives an example. In modernized society, we have great advancements. For example, he says when the radio was invented, and then through the airwaves, I'm sure that man before radio was invented would think that was a very miraculous thing. How you can communicate long distances through the air, sound waves through the air. So these things can be utilized but utilized in a nice way to spread the chanting and promote chanting and promote. There's cinema, there's TV, there's all these types of modernized types of communication. Now we have all different types of modern communication. So all these things can be utilized for promoting spiritual things. Prabhupada actually goes on to say that this is the technique. Instead of vibrating some nuisance sound, he sends some nuisance sound. So a nuisance means you're creating a disturbance. It's actually a legal term. Legally, it can be, you can be, if you're a public nuisance, you can be arrested. If the police says something, they can come and say, you're a public nuisance. You're being arrested for causing public nuisance. So Prabhupada actually categorizes like that. Instead of all sorts of materialistic sound vibrations, if the sound vibrations are spiritual and any other medium can be used. So here he goes on to say, if the state arranges these things, to distribute these things, and he emphasized by resounding the holy name, fame, activities. But very importantly, he says here, it has to be done just appropriately. It has to be proper, as empowered, the authorized way of what is the authorized mantra. It can't just be anything you make up. Because Krishna, although everywhere, has come in a certain way for this age and empowered this Hare Krishna mantra, and many other holy names of the Lord are empowered to actually have an effect on people. So it can't be just made up thing. Chanting John, 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 and you hear that is not the same as chanting Krishna, Krishna. That is one is a material sound vibration, another one is a spiritual sound vibration. So it's very, very important to understand that it cannot be manufactured. I remember one time, generally things don't manufacture things. Stay on authorized on the authorized path. Just like I remember one time, someone brought, Prabhupada was in Melbourne, and someone brought in the Essene Gospel. And he says here, Prabhupada, here there's mention of reincarnation and how Jesus believed in reincarnation and all this type of thing. So, this would be very good to use to, say that we all believe in, the Christians also believe in, and so on. And Prabhupada said, well, I don't know whether, he said, maybe not. He said, maybe it's factual, maybe this account is factual, but maybe it's not factual. He said, better to stay on solid ground. He said, just like we have our Bhagavad Gita, we have our Srimad Bhagavatam. So, someone's found a book somewhere, and, you've read certain things, but is it factual or isn't it factual? Maybe, but maybe not. So if you're going to promote that, then you're on shaky ground. Because, you're going to promote it, but then someone comes along and shows actually it is not factual. So then one looks very foolish, and not only looks foolish, but causes a little bit of a disturbance for, putting out something that is not actual, a factual situation. So therefore, Prabhupada has said, yes, we like to promote, and the state should support spreading spirituality, but the spirituality has to be done as authorized in books like Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, in this way. And I was just remembering this morning, Harinam Anukirtanam, Etan Nidvidyamanam Ichatum Kadbayam, Yoginam Nripaniritam, Harinam Anukirtanam. O King, constant chanting of the holy name of the Lord after the ways of the great authorities is the doubtless and fearless way of success for all. This is very, very important. After the Harinam Anukirtanam, so we're chanting, but and Prabhupada goes on in the purport to describe how to chant nicely. Anyone can chant, but if you want to make rapid advancement, then you have to avoid the anartas, you have to come to the Sudha Sattva platform, so on and so forth. And you have to, the chanting, the mantra has to be from the authorized source. The descriptions of Krishna have to be from the authorized source. We don't manufacture these things. So the other week I was saying that, for example, if you want to send a letter, you have to, put in an envelope, you have to put a stamp on it, and you have to put it in the mailbox. You can't just do that and then just put it in any box. Oh, there's a box. I'll put it over there. I'll put it in that box. Well, it's not going to get there because it's not actually an authorized mailbox. You have to put the letter in the mailbox, and then it goes there. So similarly, all these mantras, someone can just make up, write their own, or something. No, all these mantras are handed down from time immemorial and empowered and authorized by their great acharyas and empowered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So whether it's the mantra, whether it's descriptions of Krishna, instructions, these things, it has to be done in a very authorized way. Otherwise, if things are done in an unauthorized way, then it can create a great disturbance. That's why Prabhupada was very, very emphasizing on this point. And I think I said the other week that just like, there's one saying, the path of destruction is paved with good intentions. So someone has a medical episode, they fall down, they have a seizure or something like that, and you come in and you try to do things, but all right, just like I remember that one time I was in Bali, and this man was fishing in a canal, and somewhere or other there was a live wire somewhere, right? And so when he went down to get the fish, and he touched the water, he got electrocuted. And so, and he was like, in a bad way. And I saw from a distance, his friends were there and ran over, and they were like, jumping up and down. And then, like turning him over and this and that. Then someone told me later on, actually they should have done, someone who was a doctor, one of our devotee doctors said, they did the wrong thing by moving him around like that, but it made the situation worse. You got to do this and you got to do that and you got to do the other thing. And then they should have called and then, so on and so on. And also they could have done themselves harm if he was still touching the water with the egg. So you got to know what you're doing, in other words. You may want to sincerely help, but you got to know how to help. Right? You can make things worse. That's the point. So Prabhupada was very, very emphasizing on this point. You may want to help people. You may want to, help in a spiritual way. But first of all, find out, what is the greatest and the most effective and authorized way of spirituality that can have the most effect on people. So Prabhupada said here, yes, you follow these works like Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and then you present things. Now Prabhupada had the maxim, what did he say? Books are the basis, preaching is the essence, purity is the force, and utility is the principle. Right? Did Prabhupada make that up, I think? What's that? Anyway, it was very famous, and that everyone knows that, books of the... But, if you... All those things, you have to... It's so wonderful. It's very simple statement. But it's so sublime, and because utility is the principle. Utility is the principle means that, all right, we can utilize things for spirituality, but don't forget the other aspects of that maxim. The books are the basis. Preaching is the essence. Purity is the force. So, we may want to use something to spread Krishna consciousness. All right, but you can go too far. You can, just like how to attract people to Krishna consciousness. Well, I can advertise that you come to the farm and have free beer. I'm using an extreme example, right? Free beer at the Hare Krishna farm. We'll pack it in. They'll come running around from, free beer. Imagine if we put that out there on Facebook or something like that. Come to the Hare Krishna farm for free beer. We get tens of thousands. Right? We don't drink beer. We don't take intoxication. So that's something that cannot be utilized nicely in Christian service. So although Prabhupada says nothing is bad if properly used for the service of the Lord, it is actually, he does qualify it in other ways. I remember when I was getting initiated, I had to go around, and Prabhupada was there, and we were told, well, now you're getting initiated, you have to correct Guru Dakshina, you have to present some offering to the Guru. That's the tradition. So we went round, and, what do we get? Well, you have to go out and just think of something nice to give to Prabhupada. So, I went round door to door, knocking on the doors. And some people didn't open the door, but I was dressed like this, but other people, the greater portion of 90% were very, very nice. It was at that time we were in Sakilda, and so they're up in the nice and say. And I just told them, I said, I'm getting initiated by my Guru Maharaj, and it's a tradition that we give an offering to the Guru when we get initiated. I thought that if you could. Help, and so people would give some different things. And one person came out with half a dozen eggs. I said, well, thank you very much, but we don't take eggs. We don't eat eggs, and I don't think I can offer that to the Guru. But thanks for the thought. And they say, oh, wait a minute, she came back with a banana or something like that. Yeah, that's fine. The banana's good. So then, I gathered all these things, and banana and so on and so forth, and different fruits and different things, and I gave that as an offering to Prabhupada. So certain things can be used nicely. And so how do we know? Books are the basis, right? Books are the basis. So they're in the book. And Prabhupada says here, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. All right, we can use things, but Everything can be used, but at the same time, is it something that it's okay to use in Krishna service? Someone came to me in Indonesia and said, well, he wanted to get initiated and said that, well, he said, I said, what do you do? He said, oh, I work in a bar. I sell alcohol. I said, well, if you want to be initiated, it's that type of occupation is not so good. If you can chant Hare Krishna and keep doing your work, but if you want to get initiated, if you want to go to the next level, then you're going to have to look for some other line of work. So it's really hard. It's hard to get a job. I don't know if I can find another job. I say, well, just pray to Krishna, and then Krishna may make an arrangement where you can find something else. And sure enough, later on, he was able to find another line of work and became initiated. So therefore, all these things we have to know. And another point that's made here is that if the state gets behind these types of things, it's certainly helpful. They've got so many resources and so on, and if they help, there's funding for this and funding for that and funding for the other thing. If they fund, these broadcasting of spiritual messages, even movies about spirituality and the pastimes of Krishna, and it's some sort of funding, but it's we don't find so much of that on offer these days. They're more interested in social, material side of things, and I think that is, they have this kind of mentality. That how to bring about, actually Devamita Maharaj was telling me that in New Zealand, he was talking to the former Prime Minister, who's now passed away, David Longi, and he was talking about, when the society gets, then there's a lot of violence and the society gets unruly, you sit around and you talk about these things. Oh yeah, David Longi, yeah, we all sit around and we kind of come up with different kind of ways to sort of calm the situation down. So one of our favourite ways of doing is sport. Sport. So then, we give funding for sport. And we think that, we give a lot of funding. We increase the funding for sport, and we figure we just promote sport and get everyone. If people can go to the footy games and whatever other sporting activities, then their tendency to fight with each other will decrease. So, and he brought up the point. Well, what about spiritual activity? Oh no, we don't. That's for the church, that the government doesn't get involved in it. But actually, there should be, because the government should involve itself in that type of activity, and with the government resources, there could be a lot of change in the world. Prabhupada makes the point here that this should go on continuously, regularly. There's chanting and there's all these regular chanting or regular arrangement, not just once in a while. Just like every day you get things happening every day, materially speaking. So spiritually speaking, you can have things every day. And we in our movement, we try our best to do that, but it would certainly help if governments would come on board and help us promote Krishna consciousness all over the world. The state arranges to distribute transcend by resounding the holy name, fame and activities of the Lord, then a favorable condition will be created. So in other words, the mentality of people goes up. Instead of fighting with each other, the consciousness goes up, and automatically being absorbed in that higher level, the lower nature will dissipate gradually. But there has to be a constant arrangement for this, because the conditioning to the lower type of activities is quite strong, and it goes over many lifetimes for the individual in the society, and of course Kali, the personality of Kali, is also influencing. So therefore there has to be a strong promotion, continuous activity, and then a favourable condition will be created, as Prabhupada says here. So many things can be used nicely in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hare Krishna. So I'll read this again. Yasmint ahani yaeva bhagavan utsazajagam tadaive han rito so adama prabhavakali. The very day and moment the personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, left this earth, the personality of Kali, who promotes all kinds of irreligious activities, came into this world. Any questions or comments? Yes.
Yeah, the other day you were giving a class also regarding Kali and how Parikshit Maharaj told Kali where he can live and saw the 4 places, and then, sorry, at the end it was just in a place where gold was there. So it's very easy and clear to see how the outside society can get degraded and corrupted.
Outside society can what?
Can get degraded and corrupted because sometimes you can see like promiscuity or people take drugs or different type of illicit activities. But sometimes I can observe also within our society, within ISKCON, you can see corruption and degradation. So what is the main cause of that corruption within our society, although we follow principles?
You mean in our society?
Yeah, in ISKCON. Mm-hmm. So what is the main cause of that?
The corruption and everything. Well, that is because people are not on a high level of Krishna consciousness. All devotees are on the different levels. And so if someone new's coming, they're still bringing a previous mentality and so on and so forth. So unfortunately, those who are older devotees have to, more fortunately, they can guide them to how to come to the higher levels. But as long as those lower levels are permeating, then there will be this type of, unfortunately, there will be this quarreling. Just like in materialistic society, a lot of quarreling, a lot of corruption, a lot of very violent activities, sinful activities, causing so much disturbance. So if someone's coming from that upbringing and that type of society, they're beginning devotee, they're chanting, but there's still some, sort of mentality there. So they're coming into the movement and they're bringing that, so the tendency will be to have that and perhaps cause disturbance, maybe even corruption. So, but the senior leaders have to be very vigilant and create situations where instead of this type of thing, then everyone's engaged in a lot of this chanting. A lot of these types of things have to be promoted and has to be very profuse. When these things come up in our society, that means that we're not doing enough of the chanting and the hearing and all these very uplifting, very direct spiritual activities. So these things have come up, and unfortunately, those devotees who have allowed themselves to go like that, they're not. Taking nice association to uplift themselves, or perhaps they're taking bad association. So it's unfortunate. So the elders of the society have to be very vigilant to make sure it's a nice atmosphere everywhere. And if someone is very stubbornly continuing to, then that person has to be kept at it. Generally, Krishna separates those devotees in his own time, who are like that. And, that's been my experience, that Krishna takes them away from the association. And someone continues like that, generally Krishna, of course the devotees can do it themselves, and if the devotees don't do it, then Krishna will do it. Krishna separates those devotees from intimate association with the other devotees because they're creating a disturbance. So, but in outside society, here, and Prabhupada actually, this is the technique driving away the personality of Kali from the world. So it's not only the outside society, it's our society, inside society as well. And the technique is the same. The technique is the same for us and the same for everybody. We're not using one technique and then outside there another technique. Maybe different types of application, for the different levels of people. But the technique is the same for us and everybody else. Okay. Just one last question.
Tomorrow, activities, and it's interesting just looking at the history of the different religions and the different governments within, and the connection between that, how it's just in the recent history, like the last 2,000 years or so, in every state there's like a certain religion, whether it was like the Roman Empire, they like Christian, and Chinese Empire, there's like Confucianism, something like that. But it seems like now you can't ever actually separate. They're saying there's the separation between church and state, but now there still has to be some sort of moral code and philosophy, and then now it's like science. Science is like the scientists and scholars are the brahmanas of the secular state, and then the philosophy is materialism. And so they say that there's no separation, but it's like
good point. I mean, there has to be some sort of code and ethics and so on and so forth. So you're not going to get it in religion. You want to separate the religious. But traditionally, that's always been. Unfortunately, the people in the religions themselves have become corrupted, and so and fighting, become too fanatical. When you become too fanatical, that's a problem also. So therefore, the tendency has to be to separate it. But then again, they have to come up with their own morality, and if they're not going to take it from the religious principles or spiritual principles, they have to find their own, make their own codes, and usually that's enshrined in laws. But they're always chopping and changing and so on and so forth. So they try to come up with their own sort of doctrine, separate, or they take some things and it's just like it's a mishmash of things, So that's a good point. Yeah. So either you take it from already existing principles, or you make up your own kind of code of ethics and so on, and then they legislate and they change the legislation. And it's kind of, Prabhupada used to make a comment. He used to say, like, a civilization, when it goes like that, then it's kind of a trial and error type. Trial and error civilization. You try it for that doesn't work, and then you change it and so on. He used to coin that phrase, the trial and error civilization. So, but these true religious path has been passed down, and and it has a lot of wisdom, and that can be very beneficial. But this separation, so it has to be taken somewhere. So we choose to take it from Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, perfect system. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol.